Welcome to The Impact. I'm your host, Kim Drake, and on today's episode we have with us Delta instructor and writer Anna Villegas. Welcome to the show, Anna.
Thank you, Kim.
How many years have you been teaching at Delta College?
This is my 12th year at Delta. It's not my 12th year teaching, it's my 22nd year of teaching.
And where were you before Delta?
I was just down the street at UOP where I earned my master's degree, and I taught freshman comp and assisted with some lit classes there for 10 years. 10 years.
And before UOP?
Before UOP, I was a student. I was earning my BA at Stanford.
Oh, you went to Stanford?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of classes do you teach here at Delta?
I teach a range of composition classes. You may know that our comp classes start at a pre-college level and go on to our transfer college classes. I teach lit, creative writing, so pretty much anything in the English directory I've taught at one time or another.
Have you ever kind of outlined your own class? Have you ever come up with your own class and pitched it to the board?
I certainly have, and I took a lot of flack for a class that I teach now and enjoy teaching a lot. It's a practical literary criticism class, the rock lyric as literature. And it's really a fun class, and I think it's a profitable class for kids, but it's one that I wrote and sold essentially to the administration.
So the students write rock songs and...
No, they analyze them just as they would a sonnet by Shakespeare or a short story by Raymond Carver. So they're learning literary analytical skills, but they're doing it with literature that's very close to their hearts.
Close to their hearts,
yes.
Something they understand more than they would some ancient author.
That's right, yes, yeah.
Okay, well, being a teacher yourself, I understand you're also an author. Just came out with your first book. The book is titled All We Know of Heaven, and this is the book right here.
Yeah.
And it's a love story?
It's a love story.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit about the book, the premise of the book?
Gee, the premise of the book is probably that people in their 40s can fall as passionately in love as people in their 20s, and that love is not always joy-filled and ecstasy-filled, that there's usually a downside to most of the happiness that we find in life. So it's kind of a tragic love story.
Well, where did you get the idea from the book?
Probably I got the inspiration to write a novel from The Bridges of Madison County, which is a book you may recognize that did very well, stayed on the bestseller list for over 3 years. And it was a love story, and it had an older couple who fell in love. And I thought, gee, if that book sold so well that Bobby Waller could retire from his teaching job, maybe I could do something similar. And so in that sense, I was inspired by somebody else's success. The characters are my own. They came out of my imagination. They're people, if they were living, I would like to think would be my friends. So the story is mine, but the inspiration really is Bridges of Madison County.
Oh, wow. Now, this is a picture of you from the book.
That it is.
A beautiful picture, I must say.
Thank you.
So, this is your first book, so I imagine that you have been publishing for a while, and this is the first time you've really had a great success, or have you had other successes before this?
Well, I'd like to think that I've been publishing for 20 years, and I'd like to think that every time I placed a story or a poem or an essay, in fact, it was a success. It was a kind of pure success because there was very little money involved. So I think the difference with Heaven is that it's made me some money. I mean, people were willing to pay for it. When you publish in literary journals, it's very respectable, and it's a lovely feeling to have an editor say, this is a wonderful story, we want it for our next issue. But there's also something in American culture that says, boy, if you're really worth your stuff, people ought to pay you for it. So the difference has to do, I guess, with the print run and the money that it might make.
I see. So you didn't purely write this book for financial motivation. You enjoy, obviously, writing. Do you enjoy this style of writing, or did you think that this is the best way that you could make some money?
Maybe, Kim, the best answer there is a little of both. I was keeping my eye on the market, and I was thinking, which I think all selling authors have to consider, who is their readership. And so I was really thinking more consciously of a readership that would be willing to buy the novel. As far as writing a novel instead of a short story, I looked at it as kind of a test. I always used to tell myself as a kid I could write. You know, I would be a writer, and I've been an English teacher and not really a full-time writer. So writing a long piece was proving to myself I could be a writer, that I found out I have a list of 5 more novels at home that are just waiting to be written. So in that sense, it was a nice discovery.
Well, where did you find the time, being a full-time teacher, where would you find the time to write a novel?
Oh, good question. And any English teacher would tell you that our lives are measured by the reading of our student papers. So really, I started this novel literally during a Thanksgiving vacation, and I wrote 2 chapters in 4 days. I had sort of gotten myself into a bind. And then I wrote on longer breaks, Easter break, and finished it up in the summer before it was sold to St. Martin's Press. So I really coveted my vacation time and used that time.
Well, as most teachers are probably off on vacation and having a good time, you are sitting at your computer furiously writing.
That's right. That's the weirdo who doesn't leave her house and is glued to the computer screen, yes. But actually, it's a choice I make happily. I would like to travel. I'd like to do a lot of other things, but given the time I have, I'm very happy to spend it writing.
Oh, good. Yeah. I see on the book here you have some fellow authors that have given you some reviews, and they sound great. Some of these people that I've seen that have wrote these books, these are famous authors, and they've said some great things about the book, some great things about you. What it says right here is Anna Tootle Villegas has written a tender lyrical story all about the texture of ordinary life and the mysterious way that love and loss make the ordinary suddenly extraordinary. Villegas tells a heartbreaking story in a way that leaves the reader with a sense of hopefulness and even triumph. And that was from Joyce Maynard, author of To Die For and Where Does Love Go? That's a great compliment, and she must have really liked the book.
She must have. I first saw that quote. It came over my fax machine, and it had gone out from my editor at St. Martin's, and she'd titled the memo, Outstanding Praise for All We Know of Heaven, and it was really kind of a thrilling day to have that come through the fax lines and see it. So yes, it does make you feel good.
Besides her and other people that have written the review on your actual book, how does it feel to get praise from other authors? Have other people written you, or even fans, saying how much they enjoyed your book?
You know, I've not heard from many other authors, but the strangest, or maybe it's not strange, this is the first time I've ever done this, a serial version of the novel appeared in Good Housekeeping. It came out about a week ago. And I've been getting the most wonderful letters, really sort of love letters from elderly ladies up and down the state of California who read the novel, and for one reason or another, maybe the cat touched them, or maybe Woodland. Why did I pick the town of Woodland? They're writing me the sweetest notes saying how much they appreciated reading that, and I never anticipated that I would get fan mail of that sort. It's really rewarding.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. And besides writing purely for the fans, what was your other inspiration behind this book?
Well, I've taught for 22 years, and I love being in the classroom. I love my students, I love my subject matter, but probably I guess I could attribute to this kind of a midlife shift. I really would like to earn myself the right to write for the next 22 years. I think if there were 2 of me, I'd happily go to school and teach and stay at home and write. There aren't, and a person only has so much energy. So I guess my hope was in some way that I could find a way to design a life where I could write novels full time.
It sounds like a wonderful life to me. I read an article in the Record that said that if you had all the time in the world and there were 2 of you, that you would love to sit in the Sierras in a cabin and write books.
That was an accurate description of my dream life, yes. I couldn't imagine a better balance of the intellectual and the physical than to be in a sacred place and be doing the most blissful thing you can imagine doing.
Now, in your book, going back to your book, you have got poems from Emily Dickinson in the beginning of every chapter. Now, where does that come from? Are you a great big fan of Emily Dickinson, or does she somehow fit into this book?
She, actually, the way that the poems ended up heading the chapters is I had thought initially that I wanted the book to have a literary quality, a literary edge that Danielle Steele doesn't have, and I imagined heading each chapter with a poem not from the same poet that would establish sort of the theme or the conflict of the chapter. And I realized as I'm gathering up poems from many different sources that I didn't need to look further than Emily Dickinson, that everything I could possibly want to set the tone for a chapter was there. And then, once I decided on Dickinson, I found my characters were Dickinson fans, which seemed natural. So it worked its way organically into the story.
Great. Yeah. So are we seeing another book coming out soon? Is there going to, I don't know, I haven't read the book, so I don't know if there could be a possible sequel or maybe just another book. Are you working on anything currently?
It's not a sequel, but I'm halfway into a second novel that is very different in kind. It's a novel that concerns a patricide in the 30s in the town of Nevada City in the mountains, and it probably is more gothic than love story, but it's very different, but it's very close to my heart. So given a few summer vacations or something more fortunate, it will be the next book.
And being a teacher and an author yourself, do you have any advice to other teachers that are trying to furiously write and teach?
Oh, brother, what would my advice be? You know, I would hope anyone teaching English is doing it for love of the language, and I don't know, you don't have to be a writer to be a good teacher. So I guess you decide what your priorities are. You know, some of us could happily stay in the classroom for an entire lifetime. I think also there's a lot of dignity to be had in writing shorter pieces and mailing them out on vacation or whenever. So there's a way to balance. I think that's probably the clue to any well-lived life, is balancing what you want for yourself.
And obviously you've found that balance since you've been able to come out with this book and be a very successful teacher here at Delta. I know you teach many classes, and I've only heard great things about you from all your students, and I can't wait to finish reading your book.
Well, thank you, Kim.
I'd like to thank you so much for coming on the first segment of our show, and you're a great guest.
Oh, thanks. It was my pleasure.
We'll be right back after these messages, right back with Jane Dominik and Anna Villegas. Thank you.
Prepare for an exciting career in technology at San Joaquin Delta College. Delta has programs in engineering, mechanical technology, industrial technology, and construction. Your future starts at Delta College. Call 209-474-5230.
Welcome back to The Impact. We've been talking with Anna Villegas. She is a Delta College instructor and writer. Also, we have Jane Dominik. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Jane is a Delta College English instructor, as well as she's published a few things. Mm-hmm. How many years have you been at Delta?
This is my 6th year full-time at Delta College. And prior to that, I taught 1 year here and at a couple of community colleges in Sacramento as well.
Are you from the Valley area?
Originally, pretty much from the age of 10, I grew up in Stockton and went to the University of the Pacific for my undergraduate program in English, as well as getting a teaching credential. And then I left. I wanted to get out of California and out of Stockton to go see what the rest of the world was like. And so I went first to the University of Chicago and received my master's in English. And at that point, I wanted to do something a little bit more active with literature and with writing. So I went on for another graduate program, this time in directing and stage management in New Jersey at Rutgers. And then had a number of other jobs in publishing, actually for St. Martin's Press, but in their college textbook division, and worked in Boston for a couple publishers. And then finally went into teaching at a private boarding school back east and ended up, after about 17 moves, coming back to Stockton and starting to teach at Delta.
Once again, a local.
Oh, yes. A returned local.
So what kind of classes do you teach here at Delta? I know you're an English instructor.
Yes. Like Anna, I teach really the full range from the basic writing through literature courses and including some courses that I've designed alone or with colleagues here. I'm currently designing my 5th class here, which is really exciting to identify what students are interested in and then create those courses for them.
Well, what class is that?
Freelance writing is one of them that I created with Bill Davis, and I created one entitled From Story to Screen about how novels become movies. And I also created one in dramatic literature with Martha Rice. I've created one entitled Writers and Their Works, which is comparing writers and the lives and that the works come from. And then right now I'm in the process, because of student request, designing a script writing, a screen and playwriting course for our students. So a lot of variety for them coming up.
Oh, wow, a screenwriting class,
Yes.
huh?
I found that some students are taking my film class and my story-to-screen class because they want to write screenplays. And so looking at our creative writing courses, we have them in fiction, we have them in poetry, and so here is this other space that we can fill for them and see what happens.
Now, what experience do you have teaching as a screenplay? Have you wrote any screenplays yourself?
I've written a couple first drafts, and they need to go through all of the other drafts. It's something I've been interested actually in writing for television movies. I have to confess, since about 1976, so going on over 20 years. And with all of the other things that I've pursued, it's been put on the back burner. And then finally I'm at the point in my life where I'm saying, oops, life here doesn't last forever. When do we finally start to pursue that? So the last year I've been making some contacts down in Hollywood. I go down about once a month and attend seminars, and I'm starting to read other people's scripts for them. I guess being an English instructor, they think that I have some kind of background to give them. And then finally getting some writing done. But mostly right now, the past couple of years, it hasn't been the movie television writing I've been doing. It's been literary analysis that I've been working on.
Literary analysis of just papers? Or?
Right, writing papers. Right now I've been writing papers the last couple of years on Arthur Miller, who's a playwright, Neil Simon, and recently William Inge. And then attending national conferences and presenting them, and then I get to hear papers on the same topics, which is a lot of fun, and then meet English teachers who are trying to put the balance between writing and teaching across the nation. They're doing this.
That's what we were talking about in the first segment with Anna.
Right.
Now, Anna, we were talking about this at the break, and I wasn't aware that your book is moving into a screenplay.
Actually, the book has become a screenplay. A producer who read it in manuscript form asked me to write a screenplay, and he took an option which has expired. But it does exist in screenplay form, and it is being handled by an agency in Hollywood. So our fingers are crossed.
Is that pretty exciting, knowing that your book is turning into a big Hollywood production?
It's exciting, but I think in the popular mind, Hollywood takes precedence over books, and really it's more exciting for me to have written a novel than to have authored a screenplay. But the public gets very excited about Hollywood.
Now, do you have any say-so in what they write on the screenplay? I mean, do you kind of lose your rights as an author? Do you sell the screenplay to them and then they basically take it from there?
Well, Jane could probably answer that too. It just depends on what kind of a deal you make. And most of the time, novels that turn into movies in Hollywood, the production company buys the dramatic rights to the novel and the writer is out of it from then on out.
Yes, it's rare that the writer gets to follow the process all the way through. And other things are happening too increasingly, which is stirring up a lot of controversy in Hollywood, specifically amongst the writers, which you can have the first writer and then they can be dismissed and it is passed through several writers. And so there might be 10 writers on a movie or on a show or something, and then that becomes a question of then where's the original story, where's the original tone and style of the work that it's based on. But it is also interesting because right now one of the guidelines that they're saying is that until something is a book, producers don't want to just take a chance necessarily on a blind screenplay. So they're actually telling some people, write a screenplay, then go turn it into a novel, then come back and write a movie, which I find fascinating because they are different genres initially.
Or Laura Ziskin, who heads Fox 2000 and has done some fairly good movies, was quoted recently in Publishers Weekly as saying 50% of the material that she buys is in novel form. So there's sort of a feeling in the Hollywood mind that novelists write fuller characters than screenplay artists do.
I see. Now, since you said you've been writing some screenplays since 1976, what type of screenplays do you write?
Primarily, I'm interested more in kind of romantic comedies or trying to kind of solve an idea in my mind or a conflict either internally or externally and pursue that. So I have, I mean, dozens and dozens of ideas, and then you literally, the difference between, you know, kind of wanting to be a writer and being a writer is sitting down and having the discipline and doing it and making time for it and shifting priorities, as Anna mentioned.
Talking to Anna, I was trying to find out where she gets the balance for being a writer and being a teacher. Obviously,
it's
you
difficult.
found that too.
And it's very difficult, and I'm struggling right now to find it. I don't think I'm anywhere near there yet because, like Anna, you know, I consider myself a dedicated teacher, and in fact, all of the positions I've had, whether it's in publishing or in teaching, when I do something, I really do it. Well, then I realized there go the years. So I actually started really increasing my writing about 3 years ago here at Delta when I started writing program notes for the drama productions. And so I've actually done that for 15 productions, and so then that led to me wanting to, you know, go back and do some of the criticism, and now I want to get to the creative writing. So it all is kind of flowing, and I'm trying to focus. But it's very hard to find that balance. You've really, I'm ashamed to admit it, but I'm going to the gold star on the calendar method, and I started that January 1st, and if I've done some writing that day, I get a gold star just like little kids get rewarded. And it works because visually for me, I can see, wait, 4 days have gone by, and I don't want more than a couple of days to go by without writing. So I'm at about 60-70% of the days to try and put in, but you've got to force it in or it won't happen.
So you really have to be strict with yourself.
You really have to be disciplined and value that time.
So you said that you do the drama production notes.
Yes.
Now, would that be on the program?
Exactly. They list me as resident dramaturg, and I'm really a part-time dramaturg.
A what?
It's a dramaturg. It's they use them more in European theaters. The idea is starting to catch on. And in fact, when I went to graduate school for directing, my original idea was to go to be a dramaturg, but there was only one program in the nation, which then taught me there aren't a lot of jobs out there. A dramaturg for a theater company serves a lot of purposes. We'll write the program notes initially, doing research to help out if directors or designers or actors have specific questions on a script. We'll actually read a lot of scripts, make suggestions to directors about what to produce. And I don't do any of that. What I primarily do is do the research for the program notes. The idea being that if an audience member comes in and knows nothing about Moliere or nothing about the background of a play or musical, that it can provide some clues, thereby enhancing the interest and the understanding of a particular production.
I find that so helpful because usually if you are going into a play or a production, you know nothing about what's going on, but if you have the program notes, it totally clues you in. It's a start for where you're going to be, where they're starting off from.
Exactly.
And without that, you could be completely lost. And actually, I have been in several of John White's classes for drama, and I had no idea that was you that was writing those production notes. It helped me with several of my essays.
Oh, good, good. And it really is
much.
fun to kind of find information, distill it so it's useful to other people. And at the end, I'm also always very careful, for lots of reasons, to list where I've gotten the information so that people, students, and others can go on and do further research in particular areas on a show if they want to. So it's been fun. It's been really fun. And it combines my area, I keep on going back, between the performance arts of theater and writing in English. And so it's one way that I can bridge both of those and fulfill that interest that I have.
Good. And help the college out by doing that.
It's great. It's great
Good
if that
deal.
serves it, yes.
Do you have any students who are interested in doing that kind of thing?
I did have actually a student who was just a great researcher. He's a computer science major. I still tell him he's supposed to be an English major, but he's earning his living as a computer science. And he was able to help me actually with the program notes for Cabaret last year and did a lot of the historical research. And that was fascinating, getting together with another researcher and another writer to put that together. So that was a lot of fun. And increasingly, if there are students who are interested in doing that, it'd be great to start to work with them and train them in how to do that specific kind of writing.
Okay. Good deal. Besides the production notes, the drama production notes, and the literary analysis that you've been doing, have you published anything else lately?
The only other thing that I've actually done is there is an organization for English teachers at two-year colleges, and they put out a journal called Inside English. In fact, Anna has written some wonderful articles for that, and I made a presentation at a conference about how to use the arts to teach writing and literature in the classroom, and so they asked me to turn that into an article, and so right now that's where that is. So I have everything before me and lots of fun things to do and to develop that discipline that we all need to sit down and do it.
Well, both you and Anna have published many things. I'm wondering what kind of hardships you had to go through before you ever got anything published. How many letters of rejection?
Well, I tell my students that I could wallpaper my living room with my rejection letters, which is not a stretch. But the way I look at that is that statistically, you collect enough rejections, you're going to get an acceptance. So, yes, I've suffered, Kim.
And I know that young writers and all writers, I mean, it hurts your ego when you get those. And I had decided years ago I would count backwards. Start with 100, just figure I'm going to get 100. And then maybe by one, by the time I've gone through 99, there might be something. But I don't know, maybe I should start at 200 or something if those are the statistics.
Well, also, it's just a piece of paper. It's not like someone saying to your face, you failed here. And only the postman knows you got it. So.
Right. It's really saying that at that point, that's not what they're looking for, and it is a business. And so I think that's important for people to know, writers and other students. It's not a comment necessarily on your talent or lack thereof, but just in having seen publishing kind of from the other side for a short time, or when I directed, now when I go to audition as an actress, if they had a peanut butter jelly sandwich instead of salami, they might think differently about my voice or something. And I think that helps, so that it's not a personal rejection. It's just, no, this isn't fitting here right now, and keep finding a slot for it.
Okay. Well, looking at both of you, you guys have both been so successful in writing things and in teaching. Do you have any inspiration or any advice to give any young aspiring writers?
I would like to say write and don't put it off as I have, and keep writing. And if you want another way to support yourself, that's great and it's practical, but write, that's the only way.
I would echo Jane, and I would say something that a teacher of mine in graduate school said, which is the difference between being published and not being published is a matter of postage. So when you've written, mail your stuff out.
Well, good. That's great. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Anna Villegas has been with us, and Jane Dominik. You guys are great, and you'll be very successful. I can't wait to read your second book.
Thank you.
When it comes out. And your production notes are awesome.
Thank
and
you.
I've heard great things about you from your teaching and from all of your students that
Thank
have
you
your
very much.
classes. And I'd like to thank you very much. If anyone has any information or would like to get a hold of either Anna or Jane, you can reach them at Delta College English Department, 5151 Pacific Avenue, Stockton, California, 95207, area code 209-954-5252. I'd like to thank you for joining us here at The Impact, and we'll see you next time here at Delta College.